call, please. It's all right.
It's all right.
Man, that's fine.
Could we say our names and just,
Why don't you do that for
Yeah.
sake, if you don't mind, because I
Not
don't
at
have
all.
my list here.
Yeah.
And I guess the way we'll
Yep.
handle it is because the folks that aren't here, they're just not here.
Right.
But I just
Fine.
didn't print our list down. I thought
Okay, that's all right.
We're easy to work with.
Fasanello, present.
Caudle, present.
Shannon, present.
All right, if we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And as we have the moment of silence, I'd like to remember the 75th anniversary of Pearl Harbor today and the people that served. All right, thank you. All right, well, good evening. First order of business is the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting?
Chairman, I don't think we're still putting together those minutes from the last meeting. We were having some trouble with our QuickTime, or excuse me, I forget what it's called.
Minute track.
Minute track,
The
thank
minute
you.
track.
Okay.
It actually wasn't functioning for part of
All
the
right, well, we can table that to the next meeting. All right, public hearing. There are no public hearings this evening. Citizens' time. If any citizen would like to come to the podium and address the commission. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Commission.
Good evening, sir.
Fasanello, 6895 Track Court, Vice Mayor, Town of Haymarket. First thing I want to say is thank you so much for your service, what you do for the town, and please continue to do so. We really appreciate it as a council, and I appreciate it as a citizen. The reason why I'm here this evening is I have a concern about some of the speeds on our streets. Now, we have the 3 E's, enforcement, education, and engineering as methods to reduce some of the speeding in town. Now, the police department is doing a great job, but they can't always be available. They have other calls. So I was wondering if our planning commission, since we do have some members of the commission who work perhaps in transportation, maybe we could take a look at some potential traffic calming, low-hanging fruits and low-cost items we can take a look at to maybe consider for use in our town. And that's really the reason why I came this evening. Just thought I'd get the ball rolling. I know we have a new town manager who has experience in transportation. I have some experience myself, but I thought I'd come to the commission first and get their thoughts on it and maybe get the ball rolling. So that's my comment for this evening. So.
And I'll be happy to kind of take that on a little bit, Matt, and just to see, I can talk to some folks in my agency and just kind of see what some options would be. I'm going through this in Loudoun County right now, which I'm in charge of there. not being a subdivision creates some issues. So there's certain criteria that needs to be met depending on the type of traffic calming that we're looking at, whether it be the speed humps or islands or whatever. But I'd be more than happy to talk to some folks over the next couple of days in my agency and just kind of get the ball rolling there if it's okay with you all.
Sure. Sir, just a couple quick questions from our observation. When do you think it is the worst in town as far as, what do you see the peak times where we have problems?
Well, of course, typically when there's no officer available doing radar,
Right.
people tend to, I think, speed up. Even, it seems like sometimes during the peak periods even, we see in the morning going eastbound and sometimes in the evening, although not as much, I don't think. This is all anecdotal. I don't really have any data, but also sometimes on the weekends. But I know they're doing their job and they're out there doing the radar, so I think it's going to have to be above and beyond the enforcement factor. I think we really need to take a look at the engineering side of some things that we can do to reduce the speed. One of the other issues is when using the crosswalk. I've used the crosswalk a number of times, and even though the signs are there, I've had people continue to drive on when I'm in the middle of the crosswalk, either with my significant other or with my grandchildren, and it's very troubling. So, I mean, education is important as well, but I'm not sure how we get around that. I think the engineering is really where we need to focus.
No, I would agree. I've noticed, and my wife has talked about, because she walks the dog across 55 every day, Washington Street, and it seems like the eastern end, once they clear the middle of town and they get past the Baptist church, or even before that, they see that quarter-mile drag strip on the other end, and it's not uncommon to see the flashing sign there, flashing 45. I've seen that multiple times.
Right. And we're going to have to consider our Newtown Park. That's going to draw folks for their use, so they're going to need to cross 55, as well as the new establishment at the old Pace West building, Cookies and Cream. So I think we really need to take a hard look at what we can do, and perhaps there are some grants out there, I don't know. But I thought with the collective energy of the Planning Commission and some of the expertise, perhaps you guys could help us out and take a first crack at it. And I'm willing to work with you on this if needed.
All right.
So,
Thank you.
I thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Let me just make one comment, because I see Corey here, and I agree with you 100%, Joe, that something needs to be done. But I too want to thank Corey and the Haymarket PD. They do such a great job for having the small numbers that they do. So I just told Corey, every time we drive by there, I see them sitting out there and running their radar and everything. And it seems when they're there, people, they truly slow down, but they can't be everywhere. They have other calls as well. So just a shout out to Corey and the Haymarket PD on doing a wonderful job.
Yeah, I don't know how many people traverse through town, but it seems like, there's definitely been an uptick in traffic, so,
I think it's only going to grow.
yep, which is a good problem. We don't want to be Haymarket of 30 years ago, but we don't want to be a Haymarket where you have to sprint across the road but we'll work on it. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you for your
Appreciate it.
time, Commission.
Yes, sir. Thank
Have a
you.
great holiday, everybody.
You too.
You too.
All right, any other citizen like to address? All right, seeing none, we will close citizens' time. Public hearings, again, there are no public hearings. Announcements. Does anybody have an announcement? Sir, Mr. Leak, any update from the council or the ARB?
Yes, sir. The ARB does not have an update. The town council, we had our, excuse me, pardon my voice, trying to get it back here. We had a meeting this Monday in regards to our December meeting. some things that want to be brought to everyone's attention. On the 17th of December, VDOT, weather pending, wants to put the Divergent Diamond into full effect. They will be closing Saturday night, which is the 16th. I believe it's a Saturday night. The 16th, and doing the striping that's needed and closing down the entire bridge. So there will be a detour in effect. For some folks who are not familiar with the Divergent Diamond and want to get more clarification on it, it is on our website, as well as VDOT's holding 2 meetings on the 7th and the 13th of December at Bull Run Middle School from 6:30 to 8:30 to do a walkthrough with folks and inform the public on what a Divergent Diamond is, how it's useful and effective in regards to reducing traffic. We also approved 6710 Madison Street for their final and preliminary site plan, as well as everyone may or may not know, but Prince William County Service Authority, for our area of Haymarket, we're under a hot water boil effect for the next probably 36 hours.
All right, well, thank you. I saw that this morning after I took 2 big swigs of...
It's all right. I hadn't gone through the pipe yet. I was still sitting in
If
there.
I fall out, you can be second in command. But that is serious. You need to take care of that. All right, well, thank you. All right, new business. We have a 1-mile review, John Marshall's Commons. I know there's some folks here. And again, we appreciate all of you coming out on a Wednesday night and giving up your time. Well,
Thank you.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
So good evening.
Evening.
I appreciate the time to be here tonight. My name is Roy Barnett. I am Group President with Van Meter Companies, in charge of land acquisition, planning, and development. With me tonight is Denise Harover, my Vice President of Planning Communities and Entitlement, and as well as certain of the property owners here that are actually the landowners, the current landowners of the properties that we're going to be discussing, as well as Ed Wilborn, who is leading the rezoning effort for the John Marshall Commons property. Van Meter Companies is the contract purchaser, and Ed is representing the owners on the rezoning application. And like I said, we have Walt Mullins here and Helen from property owners who have been in the Haymarket area for most of their lives. So we appreciate the time to go through this, give you this briefing. I was here once before, so I think I've met some of you before. And we'd like to update you. The plan has changed considerably from the last time we were here. As you may know, the Prince William County Board of Supervisors initiated a comprehensive plan amendment to remap this area from commercial employment center to village, mixed-use village. So the zoning application is paralleling that comprehensive plan initiation and has been revised to reflect the requirements that are in the Prince William County zoning ordinance for the village zoning district. As you know, the property is on the east end of town of Haymarket. We're right against the town line on the east side with Pace West to our west. And hopefully you can hear me. So Pace West is to the west side of us, Tyler Elementary is to the east side of us, and Piedmont Center bifurcates the property. We have 27.5 acres that's under the rezoning application, with about half of the property on each side of Piedmont Center. So the rezoning application that we have before Prince William County right now in the last submissions is 215 residential units. do the math, that's a little, right around 9 units per gross acre of the property that we're requesting rezoning on. On the west side is about half the units, about 107 units, and on the east side is 108 units. In the total, there's 99 townhomes and 116 back-to-backs. And the back-to-backs are really two townhouses adjoined with the rear walls of each of the townhouses. So it's like taking a building and a standard townhouse is a through unit, and a back-to-back is you slice it again the opposite way, like you're slicing a cake, and each unit owns one half of a townhouse, if you will. So that's why they're called back-to-backs. All the units will have garages. All the back-to-back units are one-car garages. Most of the townhouses are two-car garages. There's a mix of townhouse units between a 20-foot front-load unit, which you'll find mainly in this area, which is a one-car garage and one-car driveway. We have some 20-foot rear-load townhomes, which have two-car garages and within the 20-foot in the rear. And then we have some 24-foot townhouses intermingled, which are, again, our two-car garages in the rear alley. So the product's been redesigned to have a mix of alley product and some front loads where alleys are not practical from either a topographic reason or just general site constraint reasons. So, like over in this area, all the back-to-backs are alley loaded. There's alleys that go through. This is a neo-traditional streetscape, and again, you have neo-traditional streetscape here and through the middle of the property. Same thing over on my right side. This is a neo-traditional streetscape, which means there's no garage, driveways, or entries on the front. Alley-loaded product serving this, so it comes into what you expect in a village, an original village feel.
There'll be no parking on those streets?
There is parallel parking, again, on all there are parallel spaces, so it'd just be like in town. When you were talking about traffic calming early, one of the best traffic calming measures is parallel parking because that gives you side friction on the through movements and tends to slow people down. So when we look at this, we have also moved from the last time I was here and gave you a briefing. We had a community center and pool so that our community would have amenities. And we originally had it over in this area. And as we developed a new village plan, we felt that we wanted to get it more into a setting that gave you a pastoral view. So we moved it over here next to the existing farm pond that's on the east end of the site, where you have the clubhouse and pool in the areas overlooking the pond. That gives you a much better setting there. And we have a tot lot interfaced with that as well. So we have a couple tot lots. We have pocket parks that are in the fronts of some of these units where we set the unit further back from the curb line. It gives us the ability to put a pocket park in the front of the units to give you, again, the better feel for that community and some of the things that we would develop. I was a builder in Kentlands way back when Kentlands over in Gaithersburg was first developed, and this is one of the things that we used in Kentlands a lot for giving that neo-traditional or old-time feel. So we're trying to tie into the character of what you have in Haymarket today, trying to extend that character to the east and create a residential setting that is conducive and complementary to everything that's around us. We do have, in the village, there is a request or a proposal that you want to have so much commercial. In this case, with Piedmont Center bifurcating the residential community, we have a lot of commercial there today. The streets do connect. There is an inter-parcel access easement on both sides of Piedmont Center through this middle and our street. So our street comes right through that access easement that's there today. But we do have some of our own commercial. We have 1.8 acres here, and then 1.6 acres is the original old office building that's there today, which is still part of the zoning, and it will remain as that office building, but any redevelopment would have to comply with the village standards for redevelopment. We have kept our trail systems along John Marshall Highway. We have a sidewalk system, trail system that comes along John Marshall Highway, picking across this frontage, ending into the sidewalk that's existing today in front of Piedmont Plaza, picking back up into a trail system coming through here, and then dropping in and to the east. And if you could go back a slide to the overall. So we've also, in discussions with town staff and working with Holly, in front of Pace West, QBE property, there's enough existing right-of-way, so we would not be on their property, we'd be within the existing VDOT right-of-way, that we could extend some curb and gutter in there, because there's just a ditch line through there today. We could put in curb and gutter, set it over enough so you'd have one through lane of traffic going westbound, a bike lane, and then your standard curb and gutter and brick sidewalk that would extend from our property line in front of Pace West QBE over to Blight Street. So we have added that to our plans, and we are proffering to that in our current application with the county. And we created that streetscape that's within the town limits to follow what you're doing within the town on your other streets improvement programs.
So are you continuing our streetscape all the way through your entire property?
No, just to the town line, because once we get into the county, we're out of the town jurisdiction, and then VDOT has its own regulations and rules on how we do the trails once we get into VDOT. But once you get into town limits, then you fall under a different set of rules, and we can follow your brick sidewalk characteristics.
Have you talked with VDOT in regards to continuing our streetscape through your property?
The county wants a 10-foot trail through here that's off the side, because this road section here is not designed the way the town section's being designed. So we're in this transition. If you remember the last time I was here, we had this conflict in transportation plans, because the town is a 2-lane road with bike trails and sidewalks. The county plan coming off 55 from 29 is a 4-lane undivided road section is their ultimate road section. So the right-of-ways, so this whole road section over through here is ultimately designed for 4 lanes. So what we're keeping, and again, this is a traffic calming measure, because I noticed tonight when I came out, as soon as I crested the hill here at Tyler, you could see right downtown here to the light out front that's right here. So what we're adding is right in front of Piedmont Plaza, we're adding a roundabout. And that's one of the other methodologies for slowing traffic down is getting a roundabout in there. So we can flip to the roundabout. We'll come back to some of this, but I want to. So what happens is we're taking that county road section that's 4-lane undivided, bringing it down, dropping lanes off, so that when we come into the roundabout, you're taking 1 lane. You're actually into 1 lane around the circle, and then coming out of the roundabout, this is a 2-lane section. So in front of that existing office building that's out there, between the circle of Piedmont Plaza and the town line, the town and VDOT has agreed that would taper down to a 2-lane section. So this roundabout serves 2 purposes. It allows you to terminate that 4-lane section coming from the county. It acts as a traffic calming measure, and it allows you to bring this transition down so it forces people into a 2-lane section going further west as they enter the town.
Yes, two questions if I could. One, first of all, coming into the roundabout, it's a 1-lane, correct?
Right, we're dropping a lane at this turn lane going into here.
Okay.
We have a right into this residential section, which drops at 1 lane, allows the other lane to continue into the roundabout.
Okay. What are you going to do to the center of the roundabout?
The center of the roundabout would be the standard VDOT's design for the small roundabout. So that has the rollover decking around the outside perimeter, and in the middle is grass.
Okay.
With the welcome to Haymarket sign.
Yeah. I will just give you a heads up now with VDOT, because I work for VDOT.
Yes.
I will tell you what goes in the center of that roundabout
Yeah.
is going to be a concern. We just recently, I'm dealing with our commissioner now because I'm the residence administrator for Loudoun County, for VDOT for Loudoun County.
Okay.
And, you know, we got a series of roundabouts out on,
I travel
and
most of the day.
every day, I do.
I'm in Loudoun County every day.
Oh, okay. So we're having issues with what's going in because the traffic, a lot of folks don't understand the traffic circles are designed so that you cannot see through them. That's the way they're supposed to be designed. Trees, shrubs, whatever, it keeps people, it's a traffic calming in itself to slow folks down going into the traffic circle itself. And then it becomes a problem of contract, who's contracted to maintain any shrubs, trees, anything else in there, and that's a big issue right now with VDOT. So I was just curious as to whether you have looked that far ahead to find out, to determine what you're going to do with the center of the roundabout.
What I can say is, I know that we had, because as you know, that roundabouts have to be approved through Richmond.
Correct.
Through the
Yeah.
Richmond office. So the preliminary design of this has been through Richmond. Richmond signed off on it. We've worked with the Manassas Residency and Richmond on the roundabout, so then the final plans come in. My understanding was that it would be much like the roundabouts that we now see on 50 and that, which would be more of a lawn with grass material in there.
Okay. I may be in charge in Prince William next year. My counterpart's retiring. And hopefully I'm going to be, so I'll be very much involved in that.
All
'Cause
right.
that's the only concern. I will tell you, the roundabout is great for traffic calming. Out here on Route 50, they have a Route 50 task force, beautification task force is what I call them. Everybody was opposed to those roundabouts, and they have made all the difference in the world. The reason I ask about the 2 lanes is we cut down the 2 lanes to only 1 lane going around the roundabouts. Virginia State Police, the accidents decreased 94% because of not having 2 lanes. People don't understand how 2 lanes work, so
That's right. It's like the one in Percival, which they've done and taken out. And
very much involved in that one too, so yes, sir. Okay, thank you.
so this improvement here, I think, it allows us to have movements into our community. So like this entrance here is a right in, a right out. But then if somebody wants to go back east, they can come in, wrap right around the roundabout and go back east. And then on the west side, we have a full crossover, but we think by having this crossover of this part from the roundabout, that we have some traffic gapping, that our traffic study showed we have traffic gapping enough to allow that intersection to work appropriately. We can go back, jump way ahead on the slides, but I wanted to go through that because as the gentleman was giving his presentation, the vice mayor of Iowa said, you know, this is one thing that will help you tremendously here on John Marshall Highway. So back to this, we have the asphalt trail along the frontage. I'd answer your question, we went back and forth with VDOT on a lot of different things, and VDOT has the 2 standards, and the asphalt trail is one that they said we could put into the right, keep within the right of way, and they would still accept that. So they have to stand for the asphalt trail and for the concrete. Brick is most jurisdictions get away from a brick sidewalk. Because the brick is uneven, it becomes a trip hazard after a period of time. And so they're going to saying they prefer to concrete, but we can go to asphalt with a maintenance agreement.
It's a maintenance nightmare. Brick pavers, any of that is a maintenance nightmare. And I'm surprised because more and more we're saying no, VDOT's saying no to locations.
Yeah. All right. You want to go to the next slide, please? So talking about the townhomes and the brick, flood, we have an interest in on what the materials are like. And this is an example of the townhome product. This is an existing rear load 20-foot product that we have up in the Bramilton area of Loudoun County. And it's a rear load with different architectural styling, different features. Each one's a separate townhouse unit. And we add some stone and siding on this particular example. We can also take units and a different unit mix we can put in brick versus the stone.
And who's the builder?
This is Van Meter.
Van Meter's your builder.
Yeah. We're the contract purchasers. You want to go to the back-to-backs? So the back-to-backs, this is a new product line. The last time I was here, I showed you an existing product line that we built back in 2005, 2006, back-to-backs. This is the newest design right off the press. where this design is under construction right now in our Stone Ridge community off of Route 50, west of Dulles Airport. But it's a mixture of stone and brick and siding and different architectural features. It just brings a little bit of traditional architecture, but keeps it into some modern features as well. Still has a low-pitch roof. It is 4-story versus 3, but with the low-pitch roof, we're bringing our total height to keep it down below the maximum height permitted in the zoning category. The way these would work is you see a single door there. You actually, as you go in there, you have 2 entries. One splits off to the right, one split goes straight ahead. So the entry that goes straight ahead goes inside, and there's a series of stairs that come up, like in this case, up the left side. And they walk up, and then the unit owner owns the back side of this. So the rear half of these 3 floors is what that unit owner is going into. The other entry door has a parlor on the 1st floor, living room, dining room, kitchen on the 2nd, bedrooms on 3rd and 4th floors. So it's a product, we're actually got 2 versions of this. This particular section is market rate, and then we're getting ready to launch in early spring the same version or same type of product with elevators in an age-restricted community in central Loudoun County as well. So it's been a very accepted product, and the nice thing is there's no living space on top of somebody else's living space, because your garages are in the back. So the unit in the back sits on top of the 2 garages. So it keeps you from having someone walking on top of your ceiling of your unit. And that's been the advantage, and that's why it's been very well accepted in the marketplace versus what used to be called a 2-over-2. Someone would own 2 floors and someone else would own 2. Well, the person up here is walking on your bedroom ceiling. So in this case, you don't have anybody on top of anybody else. Go ahead, Denise. So we talked about the Route 55 improvements, and with that, and I talked about what we're doing in Haymarket. So with that, I'd be open to any questions you may have. We also have some detailed drawings on the left side that are bigger scale, and you have a packet with the slide presentation for tonight and an illustrative plan of our project. So at this point, I would ask if you had any questions. Thank you.
Have you gone to public hearings within the county already?
We did a public hearing a year ago, but it was on the older plan, and at that point, we were put on hold because they decided that the best route to go would be introduce or do a comprehensive plan amendment, and then have this zoning changed to what matches the comprehensive plan. So we're hopeful to go to Planning Commission in January for a public hearing.
Did you have positive feedback from your first?
We had a reasonable amount of feedback. I think planning staff is really, they're the ones that created the concept with the comprehensive plan initiative that the best fit here would be the village concept. So in this particular plan, we've had very good feedback from all the review agencies on the plan. In fact, the last set of review comments were just a couple cleanup comments on width of a couple buffers or landscape strips and some other addition of another pocket park, etc. So we've had, at least from what I understand and what I've seen, is some very good positive feedback from staff.
What is your buffer between Pace West and yourself? What is your landscape buffer?
We have 20 feet along the perimeter there, and it's a landscape. In this particular zoning district, it's a landscape strip, not a buffer, as technically in Prince William a buffer would be. So we've had 20 foot there. We have 20 feet along the adjacent property to Piedmont Plaza, and remember that on the Piedmont Plaza, they have a 50-foot buffer on their side when they were building commercial against residential. So we'll have a total of 70 feet between the curb line here at Piedmont Plaza and our start of our property line. So we have this 20-foot strip here, and their 50 makes 70 feet of total.
Sir, when you were here before, I remember your presentation, but I don't recall how many units you had proposed before. So how many units before compared to this with, you said what, 215?
215.
So
We
how many
were,
units
we were
do
in
you-
that general range, if memory serves me, I think I was around 208 or 210 before. So we were in the same range of units. So we haven't, we've just changed the configuration, and we've added more townhomes and reduced the number of back-to-backs. But with the village configuration and the alleyways, we went to some smaller width units because it gives you that mix of units, gives you that feel of texture, that organic growth that you would have in a community where you don't have all the same width of townhouse. So in this streetscape here, you have some 20s and then 24s, and then back to 20s. And then over here, we've got 20s in the middle and 24s on the end. So we're going through a different range of townhouse, so it doesn't look like it's just been a cookie cutter going down the street, stamping out the same unit.
Would the children that would live there, would they be able to walk to Tyler Elementary?
We have created, I mean, I don't control, the school boundaries.
Right, yeah,
But
but
we
is there
have created
access?
a whole sidewalk pedestrian connection system, including a connection out to this abandoned driveway that serves the athletic field that comes into Tyler. So I don't know how the schools will handle that, but we have made the effort to make sure that we have trail connections all the way across.
Thank you.
Sure, price point starting at.
The back-to-backs, they're smaller square footage. They're in the neighborhood of 1,800 to 2,200 square feet. In today's market, those would sell in the 330 range, 340 range. There's a starting price, and then you have options and go up from there. The townhomes, 20-foot town is going to be in the high threes. 24s are going to get into the 400s in today's market.
Of course. What's your square footage on the townhomes?
Townhomes vary between on the product line because you have the 20 by 40 is about 800 times 3 floors is around 2,400 square feet. And then you can go up to a 24-foot wide, gets you up around 2,800 square feet. So you start 1,800 all the way up to 2,800 square feet.
And they are a one-car garage.
The back-to-backs are one-car garage, one car in the driveway, plus we have to provide so much surface parking, which in this case we're doing with parallel parking along the streetscapes for the additional traffic calming. Most of the townhomes are two-car garages. The only ones that are one car are this strip in here. The interior units are one-car garage. And this grouping through here, that's one-car garage on the townhome.
Just kind of thinking ahead, most likely that'll be an HOA there,
Yes, it
taking
will.
care of that?
Yes.
Good, VDOT won't have to plow the roads then,
No.
because with parallel parking, it's a nightmare.
These are all private streets. Everything inside this area here is a private street system. Everything except this cul-de-sac, because in this case, I'm serving 3 properties, if
Sure.
you will, with the 2 commercial properties as well as the
Yeah,
residential.
I like to hear that.
So that's cul-de-sac back, and then everything else is private street.
Okay, thank you.
What type of traffic study's been done to see how this is going to impact the town?
We've had multiple traffic studies done and updated again because, we had to, with the roundabout, we had to have a very specific traffic study for that because that, again, when you do the roundabout, that has to be approved by Richmond. So they require their traffic studies there to go through Richmond. As far as what the numbers are, I don't have them on the top of my head, so I couldn't answer you exact numbers. But we started out, originally they asked for a signal there, and it just, with the signal, it didn't answer all the transportation issues that we needed to address.
Now, sir, the traffic study just cover the county side, or did it incorporate the town of Haymarket?
Ed Wilburn can answer that, because Ed's been involved with this since day one.
The traffic study included the 1566 intersection, the town of Haymarket, the stoplights, and the new interchange to the west by 2966. And in the study, in the work traffic, the peak traffic, the majority in the study of the traffic would go through the 6629 interchange east into Dulles, DC, and so on. And it is a lot shorter from the roundabout and the east side to go that way. Then also you would have some of the traffic would split that would be going east over Cat Harpin, Heathcote, and disperse that way also. But the least impact was the west. Was to the west.
Now, sir, was that taken into consideration most of the services that those folks would probably employ or on the west end as far as fast food, gas stations, things of that nature? In other words, I know you can semi-predict where the traffic's going to go, but if they're going to turn out and go left.
The main food source locations were Harris Teeter, the Giant, and Virginia Oaks, and Wagner's. Those three. The same as that would go out for Heritage Hunt and the area behind the post office where that it is parked in town. So, and with the amenities there at Virginia Oaks, it would be a destination to come into some of your restaurants here, Foster's, Giuseppe's, and so on, the tire place. You would have that traffic. But the vast majority of the movement would be to the larger convenience centers, especially on the groceries. You wouldn't see that much to the Lions food store. You would for convenience at night. They run out of something, it's a lot easier to go there. But for the main shopping, it was the Harris Teeters, the Big Giant, and Wagner's.
And was that done with knowing that we're putting in a new grocery store within our town? We're putting in a new grocery store within our town. So was that study, did that take that into
Would not have
effect?
taken that into consideration.
Fortunately, they have a Chick-fil-A on that side, too.
There's also
Otherwise,
a time study done
Yeah.
too. And the time study, for example, getting on to 66, it was several minutes quicker to go through the 2966 interchange than it was to come through the lights and the traffic lights at 15 and 66. So more, it's like water, it finds the quickest, easiest way to flow. And even did a little bit of a study that involved the hospital, and it was actually quicker to go Cat Harpin, Heathcote into the hospital than come through the town.
And that was emergency vehicles, or that was just a resident?
That was
Horizon.
a vehicle trip. Any vehicle.
Because emergency vehicle would go through town rather
Well,
than.
probably would cut across Old Carolina before we go through the intersection and go over to Heathcote. You have, your congestion starts at Jefferson and on down.
Correct, but with the divergent timing going into effect and then the 1555 interchange, VDOT will be changing that as well. As of right now, I agree with you, our backup starts at Jefferson, but our congestion relief will be, I think, to a much smaller amount once we finish our 1555 interchange.
But again, I appreciate the time, and we would look forward to your hopefully support of this application as we move forward through the Prince William County planning process, zoning process, and we respectfully ask your positive consideration. Thank you.
I have one other question. What timeline are you looking at? I understand you have to have the approvals, but what's best case timeline to actually start building?
To see a house? To actually have a first delivery, the best case would be 2 years from today.
Okay. So,
That's best case on getting a house
Sure.
delivered.
And to make sure we get you a timely response, when do you go back to the county?
We're into the county, and the planning commission date is January 10th? 11th. Right, so we would appreciate a response from you all, and again, we would hope that it has a positive consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, 60.
Villages of Haymarket, 42. So you're basically doubling your communities and then some. All right, well, thank you again. All right, let's move on to old business zoning ordinance update. I appreciate again you coming back. I know you've been here multiple times.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Commissioners, it's been a while, and I'm happy to be back. It's an exciting project. There's been a lot of transition in the town over the last several months, and I think that has delayed this a little bit, but I also think that it makes it a good opportunity. Get some fresh blood in, fresh eyes. This ordinance is one of the primary tools that you have to do the types of things that you just heard about, and to make sure that those developments reflect the character and values of this community. So one of the things that I did before this meeting, I put together a little presentation. It's not a long one, but I wanted to try to kind of anticipate the question of why we're doing this. It's been a while. It's been about a year or so. And so as time passes, I think sometimes members of the public may want to know, why are we doing this? What is it for? What has happened? What's different between what we're going to be getting versus what we have currently? And so just wanted to go through this presentation and then be happy to answer any questions that y'all might have or take any comments on the draft ordinance that you might have. So the first thing that we did when we started this project off was we reviewed the existing zoning ordinance versus the Code of Virginia. And that helped serve as a baseline diagnostic. We put together a matrix. The image that is too small to really see on the right is the diagnostic matrix. In the left column, those are actually code sections with descriptions of what that code section is pertinent to. And then whether the ordinance actually met it or didn't meet it, and then comments that we had as the evaluators regarding those sections and what may or may not need to occur. As part of that diagnostic, we also interviewed town staff, the former planner and the former manager. We will be talking with Kimberly and getting her input as well. And then, of course, Susanna and Holly are looking at it as well. So we really want to make sure that what works well, we don't mess with, and what works less well, we do mess with, and try to make it more efficient and effective. A couple of the things that we've done is extensively expanded the definition section. I always tell people, and it's been imparted on me over and over again, that if and when you end up in court, you want to be arguing over your definitions, not the judge's definitions. And so you want to make sure that all the uses are defined and all the terms that you're going to be using in your ordinance and in the enforcement of your ordinance are defined. So if people say, what do you mean by that? You can point to it, look it up, reference it. I also wanted to do an assessment of the zoning districts. what are their purposes, how are they functioning, how do they differ from one another. And in some cases, we saw that they were behaving very, very similarly. And so what's the point of having multiple districts? And so we were able to differentiate the use types. And the use matrix, which is not part of the ordinance, but it's kind of a window into the ordinance, is a good tool to kind of lay that out and look at each of the districts and each of the use categories and the uses within those categories and see where they're allowed and not allowed and whether they're by right or by special use permit. The other thing that we implemented was use and design standards. One of the things that the town has done quite a lot has governed by use permit. And what we're trying to say is, sometimes that can be perceived as a barrier to economic development. And if every time you get a use permit in front of you, you're putting the same kind of conditions on it anyway, then maybe you could just make those use and design standards and allow it by right and say, hey, as long as you're following those use and design standards, you don't have to come to us before a public hearing. You can just go through the administrative process with staff and get your permit. So those are some basic things that are very important in an ordinance, but we evaluated all of those. The other thing that we did was we have added Article 20, which is actually the subdivision component. And so what we would propose as part of this is we would rescind, I guess it's Chapter 38 of the Town Code, which is the current subdivision ordinance, and add that into Chapter 58 as an article into the ordinance. It'd be the zoning and subdivision ordinance chapter. Share one definition of terms and operate just as functionally, if not more so, as the current subdivision ordinance. Again, I'd mentioned the use matrix. This is an example of that, where you have your zoning districts across the top and your use types and categories along the far left column with the individual uses in it. Not only is this a window into the ordinance, but as we're developing the ordinance, it lets you see what we're proposing to delete, add, and not change, and where that's occurring. And so it's quite a lot of information to go through, but it's a really good way visually to say, does this make sense, and what are your comments on it? Again, we did review the intent of each district and whether those uses, in our opinion, should be by right or by special use. We received comments from staff, and we've received comments from Planning Commission back in the spring. I don't remember, there was a lot of grammatical stuff in those comments, and we fixed all of that. And anything else that we received should be reflected in the draft that you looked at of late.
Yes, sir. I know that we've looked at this on the Planning Commission twice. And I know Mrs. Carroll, who wasn't able to be here tonight, went through and was the one who brought to the attention all the grammar
Yeah, we correct
deficiencies.
all of the ones that were brought to our attention and a couple new ones. So yeah, I think this is the third time we've talked to you about it. That middle time I wasn't here. But yes, anything that you see, one of the things that I tell folks, and I probably told you guys earlier this year, once this is adopted, it's going to be great. It's going to be a new tool. It's going to be way more efficient and effective than the current ordinances that you have. But it's never going to be perfect. And one of the things that I would like to encourage the town to do is get into the habit of an annual review of the zoning ordinance and the comp plan. It's a really good exercise to basically, the zoning administrator will keep a hot file, and anything that the manager or the administrator or commissioners or developers see that doesn't seem right, it's clunky, it's contradictory, it's a loophole, it's just unclear, whatever. You drop it in that hot file, and then at the end of the year, beginning of the year, middle of the year, whenever the review period is, you go over those things as a commission and say, these things we would like to initiate a zoning text amendment, talk with council, see if they agree, and amend the ordinance. Not nearly, and it's 3-month, 4-month exercise max, and not nearly as extensive as overhauling your ordinance, which is the process we've been going through. Great way to keep it up to date and current, and from year to year to year, you just keep rolling. So it's a best practice that I highly recommend. I had talked about definitions. We conducted a thorough review of the existing definitions. In the draft, we do show where we propose deletions, additions, etc. We added a lot of new terms that we feel clarifies the ordinance, defines the uses. It just basically helps educate the general public as to the terminology that's used in the land use business. Revised existing definitions to add clarity. We added pictures in. Pictures worth 1,000 words. What is a setback? How do you measure the height? What do you mean by single family attached? Just some of the definitions that kind of lend themselves more toward a picture. We tried to include that. The town had signed. Well, it's the next slide. The town had consultants do sign ordinance update a couple years ago. We've incorporated that into this ordinance, and that was one of the things that they did with the sign ordinance, was they put a lot of pictures in that, and we do that with our ordinances as well. Because when we talk about signs, you're like, what do you mean projecting sign or hanging sign or wall sign? It's a freestanding sign, and so this is a good way of doing that. One of the things that we have also done in this ordinance, there's a little court case called Reed that came out about a year and a half ago. Basically said sign ordinances need to be content neutral. And so I talked with the consultant who did the town sign ordinance, and he said, yes, we did it in compliance with Reed to the best of our ability at the time, but it hadn't officially come out yet, and we really didn't understand what the impacts would be from it. And so we have looked at it again with an eye toward that. We made some modifications to make sure that it was content neutral. There were a couple little things that was like, that's not content neutral. So we've made those adjustments.
And what in particular were those?
I don't remember what those were, but it probably was political signs, real estate signs, things of that nature. You got to get rid of them. You can call them something else. You can regulate them in different ways, but you can't call that out, define it, regulate it differently. It's got to be size, shape, structural composition, location. That's what you can regulate. So religious signs, you cannot regulate based on content. Doesn't matter what the message is. What matters is the structure, location, size of the sign. Another section that we made modifications to was the landscaping section, trying to get it so that the buffering and site design, landscape screening made a little more sense, had a little more definition, showed some pictures of what we're talking about when we talk about a transparent screen versus a semi-transparent screen versus an opaque screen. And the whole point of landscaping regulations isn't to try to make things more difficult or more expensive. It's to make things look nicer. And the development that was presented to you just a little bit ago, they're doing things in a way that is trying to make it more aesthetically pleasing. They're varying the sizes of the units and the arrangement of the units, and using a streetscape type that they feel brings an aesthetic to it. And that's what we want the town zoning ordinance to require as well as encourage. There are environmental provisions, stormwater provisions, erosion and sediment control, and it just promotes economic development if it's done well. So for all those reasons, we made revisions to landscaping that make it make more sense. And we utilize the input of town staff a lot in that. Use and design standards, I had mentioned that. Basically just saying, look, if we want gas stations to look like this, we want this use type to look like this. It's any type of use that you want to really encourage by right. It's appropriate by right, but you want them to go above and beyond what they would normally maybe do. Roof pitch, architectural style, material, etc. Call that out. And again, you're not trying to create massive barriers to development. But if you look at some of the newer development that's going on in town, most of it is pretty darn attractive, right? And so a great way of Reinforcing that is just to basically have your use and design standards call that out and encourage it and or require it. Again, you're looking at the purpose and intent of the district, and you're saying, how can we best achieve this without erecting a lot of barriers to economic development? Lighting is something that we're taking another look at. We've gotten some input from staff on lighting, and so we're going to propose a new section that kind of consolidates the lighting regulations. Right now, it would appear that they are either fairly abstract and or contradictory, and so we want to make sure that we're not contributing unnecessarily to any light pollution or light spillover, glare on adjacent properties, but have lights for safety, security, aesthetics that are appropriate for the community. I'm going to talk just a minute about the maps. This is the current zoning map for Haymarket. And so, white, no color is single-family residential, and it kind of goes up from there. Your purple area is your most intensive commercial. Yellow is industrial, and then the brown is your downtown. This is what we're proposing the new map to look like. A little more traditional zoning colors. Red is commercial, gray is industrial. The light yellow is more single family, less dense residential. Your dark yellow is the higher density residential. This map shows transitional commercial, which is the orange color, and that's something that is not on this map. It's in those locations that are kind of the darker shaded color. Those are the only two areas that are proposed to change on the zoning map. And the driver behind those proposed changes to the zoning map is the future land use map. Your future land use map or your comp plan is that. And so it shows, it's hard to tell on here, but it shows a differentiation between your transitional commercial and your downtown commercial. So this is a darker orange, this is a darker orange, this is lighter. It looks better hard copy in your comp plan as it does on the screen. The screen bleached it out. On this screen, it's actually yellow. The downtown commercial is yellow, and the transitional commercial is orange. But at any rate, the town could either not amend the zoning map to add these districts to it, the orange areas, or it could just somehow more effectively try to promote those districts so that if a rezoning application came in to rezone those areas from residential or town center B1 to transitional commercial, then your comp plan already supports it. The transitional commercial district really wasn't very well addressed, in our opinion, in the zoning ordinance, and so we have added a lot of uses into that to make it more functional and effective. Really great concept. I think your comp plan's got it dead on. It just needs to be applied to the map, and that can happen proactively through the commission council, or it can just be, you just amend the text, which automatically strengthens the intent and uses in the district, and then if a rezoning application comes in, it would be considered within the context of these tools. That's really it. That's all I've got for you, and I'm happy to take any questions or comments that you might have, and we'll go from there.
Yes, sir. I appreciate the update. I guess my biggest question is, what's the timeline to getting the proposed final draft to the Planning Commission? Because I know we've been working on this. When I was on the council, we did some work on this. Planning Commissions looked at this. I know the big sticking points before were the signs with the Supreme Court case. I know the zoning districts we've kicked around a lot. I know real estate signs, and I know the business owners have, and rightly so, been not so happy with the sign ordinances in town. And so I guess my question is, from my perspective, unless there's a differencing of opinion of the other commissioners. I would like to get this as soon as possible, go through it, and then do our due diligence, get it up to the town council, and get this thing really rolling. I know we want to do it right, but I just feel like this thing, and it's through no fault of anyone, it's just drug on for a long time. And I think with the Divergent Diamond and perhaps businesses relocating here, I think the sooner we can get this is going to help grow our businesses where they know what the playing field is. Does that make sense?
Amen. Absolutely, I agree completely. The last component we had to put in was the subdivision ordinance, and I had been waiting to try to get input from the zoning ordinance, and we finally just went ahead and put it in. We have had the town attorney's office review it, and we're going back and forth with them on their comments. Kimberly needs to review it. She wants to review it, and I think she should review it. Not only because she's the town manager, but she's actually got a good planning and transportation planning background, economic development, a really good handle on how those things come together in a healthy way for a community. And so it's a good opportunity to get her input on it too. But other than the tweaks that we need to make based on Holly and Susanna and Kimberly and any input y'all might have, we're ready to roll. And so in my mind, we could have a public hearing before the Planning Commission, if you feel you're ready, first part of next year, and then it would go to council potentially immediately thereafter. I would recommend probably one work session with council and or a council commission joint work session before the public hearings, just to give it a little more public attention. And I haven't interacted with council in any level, and I know there was a council change this past year too, and so I want to make sure that they have a comfort level, and maybe they do, and maybe y'all know they do, and we don't need to do that step, but a joint work session, even if it's just to do this with them and get their questions and kind of raise their comfort level, I think is a good idea before you go into the public hearing process. But I mean, first part of next year, as fast as y'all want to move it, we're ready to roll.
So, here's my thoughts, and I would like the other commissioners to weigh in. I would like to see the proposed final draft come to the Planning Commission. Let us go through it, because I know the council has a lot on their plate, where we can do our due diligence. Then once we go through it, do a joint session, so when questions come up from the councilman, we can say, well, hey, we've gone through this. Not that they won't come up with questions we haven't considered, but I think to follow protocol, come to us, let us go through it, then the next month do a joint work session, and then unless some new thing is risen with us, then say the ball's in your court and let them go from there. And I would like to see us be done with it, at least at this stage. And I realize I think it's a good idea, this annual review, but if we could have it to them where they can act on it by the March time frame, then it's in the first quarter and it's gone. Can you all have it, sir, by January, our next meeting in January? I know the holidays, but are you that close where you could get it to us?
Our speed is not the issue. It's the how quick can we get the comments in. I mean, I don't know.
Of
Yeah.
January.
Before
Well,
the January, that's
it
pretty
depends
tight.
on the town council meeting, I think. They are gonna meet the third? Okay, so if our next planning commission meeting is the fourth, I have no problem with it coming forward at that point, because I mean, I've still got a few more comments I need to get to him, but I'm kind of ready to rock and roll for January myself. That's sort of what I've been aiming for myself, so.
I mean, I guess,
And I know Holly has too. Holly has sent me comments. She's got a few more she wants to look at, but she's very close as well. So I don't think that's going to be a problem for staff.
I mean, the draft that you have is pretty darn complete. I
But
don't
there
know
are-
how many changes are forthcoming.
Right. I don't think staff has got a problem at all with making a January time frame. for you guys to have a final draft to start really,
I don't know if I want to commit to that.
you don't?
No, we can aim for that. I mean, that can be our aspirational goal.
Well, let me ask you this. Could you have it to us by our meeting in February?
I think that's definitely doable.
I would rather
Okay.
do it right than rush it,
Okay.
I would rather do it right, too. I mean, Kimberly has about 8 million things on her plate.
and I understand. Can we
Right?
do it
If she only had
February?
4 million.
It's
maybe we
February
could commit her
1st.
to January,
Yeah.
but she's got like 8 million. And she and I met earlier this evening, and she knows the importance of this. But it's a lot of material to go through, and I would rather get it right too. So
Well-
we can do it in January. What? Let me suggest this. Would y'all be willing to have a special meeting in January
That's
just
fine.
on this item?
I think so.
Absolutely.
I mean, I would be up
Maybe in
for it.
Mid-January or later January, and that way.
Or depending
Yeah.
on other items for that meeting, maybe just push it off a week.
Because I got no problem moving this thing forward quickly. Our speed is usually not the issue. It's just
Well-
whatever doing it right consists of for the locality
Well-
is the process we need to follow.
Well, out of respect to all the new folks in the town, I mean, it is the holidays, and they have a lot going and getting acclimated. I just want to see it drag into the second quarter, because we've been working on this thing, at least when I was on the council, now the PC, for probably about 18 months. And I know there's been a lot of new laws that have transpired during that time, but if at the very worst we could have the final draft copy, and I really don't want to piecemeal it. I want to see the final draft copy with all the lighting, the new plan use, because then what happens, you get up here and you have 4 different drafts, and then if we could do a special meeting, great, but at the very least for a February meeting, and then we could even do a special meeting in February together, and then they could have it the beginning of March. And I would think if we do a good job with it, I mean, obviously they have the final say, which I totally believe in, but I think they could probably act on it in March or pretty soon thereafter, would be my guess. I mean, I know I've done a lot of talking. What are the other commissioners'
I
thoughts?
fully concur. I'd like to see one final draft. So we can go, I want to commend you, the 2 areas working in transportation that, and for these type of issues, the lighting and the landscaping, that's commendable taking that on, because that's a big issue. So, thanks for taking that on. But I'd like to see a kind of a final version, final draft. So.
How about the other side of the?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So would we all be in agreement to get it at the meeting in February, then do a special work session?
Sure.
With the or with the council? We can petition them after the regular meeting somewhere mid-February, and then we could push it to them. I mean, I'd like to hear the town manager's thoughts on that, too. I just think that extra 4 weeks would probably be best for everybody. Okay, so we'll work on that. We'll do a regular Feb meeting, and then we'll do a special work session mid-February.
And then what I'm hearing you say is, at your March meeting, you'll make a recommendation to town council and have the public hearing before planning commission at the March meeting of planning commission.
I think if we do the public hearing at the March meeting, then depending what council wants to do, they could have a special work
Right.
session and roll it, or at the very least by April.
Yes, I think that town council would be very, they would certainly, they would appreciate it as soon as they can get it, but they want you all to be, they want a positive recommendation from you. So what that takes is, if, that takes a month or 2 to get to, then I think that if you could make a recommendation for them in March, that they may decide they want to hold a special work session, I don't know.
No.
I know the mayor has been very eager to get it.
Now, with the regular, can't talk to it, with the regular February PC meeting, then we could do a special
Joint
meeting
session.
mid-February, joint with the,
like a work session.
correct, joint with town
And that's
council.
not a public hearing. I mean, public is invited, but
that's-
that's not one of our two public hearings.
Well, that's what I'm getting to. If we were to do that mid-February, it's still a 2-week timeline that has to be advertised to go to a public hearing, correct?
Right, that's why I'm
Which
aiming
would-
for the planning commission public hearing to be to be right at the 1st of March. which
Okay,
is
that's
the-
fine. I
your
just want to make
meetings are
sure the
first-
window fits.
Your meetings are the first Wednesday of the month.
Correct.
So that's like literally right at the 1st of March.
All right,
One February and one March, our next two meetings, so.
all right. Do we have an agreement up here? All right, let's go. I know we beat that horse, but let's do that then. Okay, thank you. Any other questions about anything I forgot as far what the sticking points were? And I know one other thing, these special use permits for these poor homeowners who want to do something simple like bake a cake, where they have to jump through hoops, and then we have to have a special, I mean, if we could clean that up for the homeowner and for small business entrepreneurs, I would be all for that, because that really gets cumbersome, it's time-consuming, and I think it wastes their time, too.
I think we've significantly improved that in this draft. That's the sort of thing that, once we have this new structure for the ordinance, those are the types of things that if you see something, it's like, why didn't we do that? Drop it in the hot file, make it part of the annual amendment process. If it's really something glaring, just initiate a zoning text amendment, right? Boom, just fix it.
Right.
It shouldn't be a scary process. It's public hearing, and if you wanted it to, it's joint public hearing, decide on it, done. I mean, typically, it's a 60, 90-day process.
Right.
So it shouldn't be something scary, it shouldn't be something painful. And localities that get in the habit of doing that, it's not scary and it's not painful. It's just that most localities update their ordinance, it sits for 10, 20, 40 years, and then when they go to update it, it is somewhat painful, and it does drag, and da-da-da-da-da. And it doesn't have to be that way, and it shouldn't be that way. And so you're going to have a brand-new ordinance. It's going to function way better than the existing one. It's not going to be perfect, so that amendment process is the key to continually keeping that engine running as smooth as possible.
That's why we review and make changes as needed. So,
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate the work you've put in, and I know it's a multi-headed monster, if you will. There's just a lot of legalities involved, so thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thanks for letting me be here.
Well, thank
See
you.
you again soon, and happy holidays.
You too.
to you.
All right. Last order of business is town planner update.
I don't have to stand up to talk. I don't know why I can't sit down and talk, but I'm going to be very quick, okay?
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the members of the Planning Commission. Just briefly, we have been having an amended task list that we have been giving to Town Council. Basically, all of the members here and all the staff has been giving them in this kind of nice, it's like a spreadsheet format, which actually I think is helping me with my tracking. And it put me in mind of something I had done before at a previous place, and that is to do, we call it Planning Monthly, which is a really nice interactive document that we could actually put on our website that has all of the outstanding projects that are having to come to you and then go to council and then come, back through to site plan and stuff like this. The capability is possibly to even click on the application number and bring up a copy of the application and see what the current reviews are. That helps me with my tracking and making sure that I've actually documented what I'm doing, so it's not something I would mind doing at all. So I'm actually, been talking with Kimberly and Holly about how to make this, more transparent, but be kind of easier for us on the inside, too. So that's something that hopefully you'll be seeing soon. I just wanted to update a little bit on the things that have been going on here in town. I am going to be working with the property owner and the businesses that are in the industrially zoned area, that a lot of which has been impacted by the Virgin Diamond and the work out on 15. A lot of those folks are losing their signage, or they didn't have adequate signage to begin with, hard to see. There's multiple entrances. There's a lot of stuff there that needs cleaning up. And I think what we're going to be doing is we're going to, staff, we're going to do a signage plan, and basically address the signage on the buildings and at the street, almost as if they're a shopping center, because they really do kind of function similarly to a shopping center. And I just wanted to let you all know that we will probably be bringing something forward about that, obviously to the ARB. You may hear about it, is all I'm saying, in the next couple of months, because those folks, it's not that their businesses have suffered, but I think that they could certainly be enhanced if they have better signage. And the business owners that I've talked to, actually, they came to me, obviously say, what do I do about my sign? And I'm like, while I have all y'all's attention, let's start a conversation, because you all have the same questions, and you all need good signage. And people, it's like they don't know where to enter to find the buildings, and then once they're in there, the buildings, some of the signage is low, some of it's high. If somebody's parked in front of the building, you can't see the sign. And so we'll be addressing all of that at the same time, and trying to, offer enhancement type tips, you know what I'm saying? Because it's a very important area in the town as far as how much business is done there. So we want to make sure that they are, they have their best foot forward, And so there's that. As far as, the workflow here, obviously we're very busy. This is part of the time of year. It's also part of the fact that I think we're here not all the time, but we're here in the office now. But if you all hear of anything and you want me to address it quickly, the best way to get in touch with me is email. I'm able to look at emails even when I'm not here, and I do. I do check my emails every day, even when I'm not here. I may not answer them all, but at least I've got something in my mind. I'm thinking about it. I'm looking it up. I'm getting ready to answer it, that sort of thing. So I do encourage email. There's no, it's kind of, it's not that it's 24 hours a day, but, if you wake up and you think about it first thing in the morning and get it off to me, maybe I can get an answer back to you, by noon or so. Do y'all have any questions for me?
Yes, ma'am, I have a couple.
Okay.
All right, we know about the Divergent Diamond. What is the status? I have several, so bear with me. What is the status on Sheets?
Sheets, the final site plan is imminent. We are going to be, Holly has been basically meeting on that for the most part, because she was working with Marchant on the preliminary as it came through. They are ready to submit. In fact, they have submitted their final. We are waiting for comments from some of the other agencies, but I think we are going to probably be bringing that to you January, possibly February, but I don't think any later than February.
Right.
They want a joint hearing of Town Council and Planning Commission. I have not had a chance to actually address that question, and I'm not even sure what the process is here for that. That question came out, I think, yesterday, so I've had, just not a lot of time to think about it. I have no idea if y'all are open to that sort of thing, a joint planning commission and town council hearing for a project. I understand that's been done in the past, but I'm not sure under what conditions or what sort of, there's no trigger for that. It's supposedly kind of on a case-by-case basis. We make a decision as to whether that's a good idea, and maybe it's based on y'all's availability. I don't know. If you have any input on that, I'd like to have it.
Okay, thank you. And then the power line. I received an email or a text email update a while back. Is that, looks like, from what I heard, it's going to go through the backside of Somerset.
Not coming through the town. That's sort of the bottom line is it's not coming through the town. I think they haven't settled on the exact route, but I understand it's south of here. There's, some technical questions and stuff about exactly how, where, exactly, but in general, yes, it's supposed to come, I think, south through Somerset or around Somerset.
All right. Has the council, I'm sure they've addressed that at some
Yes, and I
point.
believe at their meeting on Monday night that they did have some discussion, and maybe Connor can.
Because I find it very interesting that all the attention we were trying out here, but it seems like it's basically going where they planned it all along on the backside of Somerset. I mean, that's my gut.
It's
I have
going down Carver Road. Are you
Right.
familiar with
I
Carver?
am.
Okay. So it's going down Carver Road. It's with, there's still, I think there's a few more days for comments to come in. We received it, I believe, November 16th, I think was the date that we heard of their hearing. And they had X amount of days to review and receive comments. And then it's going to go in front of the three commissioners for them to make their final review. There's still a coalition, and what I mean by coalition, in regards to the folks in the town and just outside the town that are fighting for it. Somerset's still involved. The Greenhill Crossing, I believe, is still involved. The town of Haymarket's still involved. Heritage Hunt pulled out, and somebody else pulled out. But we're still fighting it hard, and obviously making sure
To go underground 66.
correct, and that's
the only route.
That's the way that we're still asking and pushing for.
Okay, and then two other things. Would it be possible to get the unit count for like Green Hill Crossing? I know what it is for the villages of Haymark's, like 42 single-family homes in there. If we could get it, I mean, Haymarket Station, Ms. Pasternak said it's around 60. If we could get it for Green Hill Crossing, because, I mean, between Haymarket Station, villages of Haymarket, there's 102 homes. And it just seems like this project, and I would like feedback on the other commissioner, it just seems like they're cramming an awful lot of stuff.
You're talking about John Marshall Commons,
Yes,
the one you
ma'am.
heard tonight?
And
You want a total on those
I would
other
like
three?
to know a total of all the homes on the eastern end down here to get some type of visual,
How many people might potentially?
because that traffic study, I think, is very skewed. I
I-
really do, because most people are not going to go over top 29 to go to the grocery store. They're either going to go to Walmart or back in this end.
I will be, I don't know if you saw me speaking to the lady that was running the PowerPoint, but that was my exact view. When I come into town in the morning, the Harris Teeter's dead. When I leave town, the Harris Teeter's dead. I don't know who's shopping at Harris Teeter. It's dead. I don't think people are shopping there. So I'd like to know why they directed the traffic. What was their trigger? And she said she would be sending that to me. So I'm interested to know exactly what you're saying. We'll see what the study says, and then we could possibly address it in our comments.
I'll be
Would you
willing
like
to
me
do
to
that.
email that to you when I get it? Because I'll be
Please,
happy
if
to
you
do
don't
that.
mind, and then
Yeah.
email it to all the commissioners. It just
I'll do
seems
that.
like to me, I mean, I'm not personally opposed to them building, but it just seems like they're cramming an awful lot of stuff in there, and traffic's already, I mean, all the poor hoops we put Dogs Day out or whatever with the
Well,
traffic, and then we're
I think-
putting a lot in.
I think that's a very valid point. And if I could just address high density in general for just a moment, even here in the town. I will tell you that the proposals that I've seen for the property across the street has a residential component in both examples that kind of made my eyes pop. It seems to be what people want to do here for some reason. Either mixed use with a lot of residential on the second and third floor, or these townhomes that there's a lot of density, and those folks, I mean, maybe 10 years from now, most of them won't drive, but I worry about the traffic because I feel like most people still own at least one vehicle, and a lot of folks own two, so
Well, that's
there's a
even more,
question.
it's even more reason to get that train station out here. than
Well, that
it
would
is
be
to-
lovely. I agree.
That's gonna open up a lot. But I just want to make a comment about, I'm with you on, I think that traffic study is skewed.
I think so.
I think the gentleman said that they considered the divergent diamond, but I'm not real sure they did, because I doubt they did. The majority of people there, sure, they're going to go that way when you look at the current setup that we have here. But that divergent diamond, they work well. And so I'm not sold on the fact that all of these people are going to head that way instead of coming this way for that divergent diamond. Traffic, especially a lot of folks coming here, if they're coming 66 west to come in, I'm telling you, that's going to be a mess up there.
You've got 108 units coming out on an unsignalized intersection
Yeah.
on the east side of that roundabout.
they're
And they're
gonna
going to
be
make a
making-
left turn against traffic, so
they're
they'll
gonna
get
be
bread and
making that
milk?
right.
No, I don't
Yeah.
believe that. I just don't believe that.
I just have that big concern as well.
And then the last thing that I have, has there ever been like a town map for tourism? I don't ever recall seeing a town map. Like, you go to a lot of small towns, and you could go to the grocery store and pick up a tourism map of the businesses, like a little trifold map. I think that would really be a great idea for our businesses to give them some heightened awareness. And people want to walk, like, have a map of where things at, because right now, I've never seen, I've lived here 20-plus years, so maybe
that's a
just in
great
the
idea.
future,
I think
we
that's
could come
something
up with
for
a
Denise.
tourism map.
think
I was
Denise-
going to introduce our town manager, who has also a very big economic development background here during my time. And I do believe that that is something that, she would have an opinion on. If you wanted to, I'm done here, so if you want to
I
come
have
to
just
the podium.
one quick question.
Oh, okay.
On the Doggy Day Out, when are they going to start?
They have had their preliminary site plan meeting with Holly and I. Okay, so we've told them what the timeline is and what they need to give us. Their engineer will be submitting soon. I assume that means after the first of the year for their preliminary site plan.
Okay. So they're going to start building in the spring then?
They would like to be there by April. I don't think that's going to happen, given the timelines right now for site plan approval.
Okay.
But I feel like certainly by the summer, they'll be there.
Okay, thank you.
So, any other
Speaking
questions?
of Dogs Day Out, we were going to come up with a new category. Marshall had talked about it. Wasn't a kennel, wasn't a doggy day salon. He was going to come up with a new.
Let me look through some of the information he has left for me specifically about uses.
It wasn't
He may
on
have,
there.
it's not in there? Okay, well, then I need to go and look for that specifically then. I'm sure that he has it. I'm sure that he has. Oh, yeah.
Yes. So they need a kennel's license, and it has to be redone then.
That's under the new one.
So we would define that as a kennel in the new ordinance going forward.
It wasn't approved. It wasn't
as a
approved
kennel.
as a kennel. So we're going to have to go back and revisit that. Marshall said he was going to come up with a new.
Well, I think he did leave me something. So I do need to take a look at that specifically, and thank you for calling that to my attention, so I know to go look for it.
And also we went through this last time, in the miscellaneous, the cemetery private. So if you're in an R1, you can be buried in your backyard by right. If it's cemetery private in R1, it's the B by right. And the next one, the R2, is a special use permit. Or we could go to transitional commercial if we wanted to.
Okay.
Just saying. And then my last question is, just two, I'm sorry. Anything new on the fairground property?
Haven't heard a peep.
Okay, and how about our industrial blight right next door where it
And
shouldn't be?
thank you. I knew there was something huge. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, the NOV is actually dated today. It has been finalized. It will go out by registered mail tomorrow to the property owner. It'll go out by first-class mail tomorrow to the property owner, his agent, our town attorney, all of the tenants, with the exception of the used car folk. And the reason is because I don't have current information on contacting them, but the Motor Vehicle Dealer Board, who's also getting a letter and has been waiting for that. is sending me their contact information that they have registered in their license so that I can also notify them. And the upshot is this: the used car dealerships have lost their grandfathering status for several reasons. I can go into it if you want me to, but they are no longer considered legal, so they're done. And as soon as the Motor Vehicle Board gets the letter from me basically saying they're done, he's going to pull their state licenses. We'll see what happens. The paving, the outdoor storage of equipment, construction materials, diesel fuel tanks, all of that stuff, obviously illegal outdoor storage. Martin says it's a junkyard as defined in our ordinance, so that's what we said. You're operating an illegal junkyard. And they have the legal right to appeal within the first 30 days after they get the letter. After that, there is no appeal right, period, and they must cease and desist. That's it. And violations are punishable as a misdemeanor. After it accumulates $5,000 worth of misdemeanor, it goes up to criminal misdemeanor. So it can escalate pretty quickly. I feel like we'll hear from them. I feel like we'll hear from them probably on the 30th day. They'll ask to appeal. It'll have to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals. That's who it goes to. So I'm trying to get my Board of Zoning Appeals. I still need another member, y'all. I do need one really badly. If y'all know anybody that could serve as a Board of Zoning Appeals member, please have them contact us. But the Board of Zoning Appeals is meeting next Monday night here in order to get a little bit of training to elect officers and to adopt their calendar and get a little bit of information about what we think is coming. So that's how that stands.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Kimberly, did you have anything to add at all?
As far as your questions around.
This is not going to catch. I'm going to bring this to you.
Once we get fully staffed and are able to bring on board our clerk and treasurer, it's going to free up time for our director of community relations, business relations. We're going to work together to look at some of the upcoming goals. We're going to create a work plan for some of her activities that are going to include more tourism development and more business outreach. There are companies that can produce those maps for a fee, that we just need to give them some information. So that's potentially something that we could put in a small marketing budget. We can also put something together ourselves just to get something out the door that's pretty simple, that just outlines our current businesses as a marketing piece. We are getting some promotion at our area hotels in Gainesville, and I think was it Gainesville? Was that the?
Yeah, Gainesville, Hampton.
Was it? Yeah. So we can also reach out to some of those other area hotels and give them promotional materials, and sometimes they can provide them in the rooms at the hotels, and they actually appreciate the piece because people are asking them all the time, what's there to do around here? Even if it's overnight, if we're promoting our businesses, we can send them up the road and they can, have dinner here or breakfast or whatever on their way out. So there's a lot of little things that we can do and implement that I'll be working with Denise Andrews in the future.
Let me ask you, on trifolds like that, can you get, I'll use my favorite restaurant, Los Vaquero. El Vaquero. Can, if their restaurant's going to go into that, can't we kind of tell them, okay, but this is what it's going to cost you to be included in that? I mean, can we get the merchants to pay for that?
Oh, to pay for like a brochure?
Yeah.
We can talk about different ways to do it. Sometimes these trifolds can be fairly inexpensive, and we could pick up the cost. And sometimes for a small fee for an ad, we could put ads in it.
That's what I was thinking.
And
the
for a small
advertising
fee, we could
portion of
put
it.
some small ads. So, there's different ways to do it.
Okay.
And the only reason I brought it up, I have friends who own businesses in town, and if your business is not off the beaten path with the way our sign ordinance is, it's
Right.
almost impossible to be seen. And it's just something with their taxes, because what I'm afraid of is we're going to grow the residential side. We're not going to have the businesses to support it.
Right, and we are We do have a project that's going to be starting up for redesigning the town's website, and we can also include
That'd be
a
awesome.
tourism page. We can get its own website, but we can also, it can be a town page, but it can have both. You can get to it from the town, and you can get to it from its own web address. And we could add all kinds of content to it as well, that people can, when they type in Town of Haymarket, it can pop up. So we can work on that as well.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
I know it's been a long meeting, but I think it's been very profitable. So, any other concern or question?
No, sir.
I'm good, thank you.
All right, do I have a motion that we adjourn?
Absolutely.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Have a great evening. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to all.
Happy New Year.
I just think this project just rubs me the wrong way.
I got to tell you, something you mentioned.
I just think the traffic is skewed.
I'm looking at that number of homes too. Okay, sure, it's nice that you bring things into, but that is, how are we gonna move it? That's my concern. I'm telling you, that's an issue I'm having in Loudoun County. Fastest growing county anywhere around. And I'm having problems with road infrastructure because first of all, the builders are not doing
Excuse me,
a damn
real
thing.
quick, I want to,
Yep.
don't forget I need that card back.